There is a form of strength that most people never develop. It does not raise its voice. It does not rush to defend itself. It does not need the last word, and it does not collapse simply because someone disapproves. You see it in the person who receives an insult without immediately throwing one back. You see it in the person who reads a disrespectful message, puts the phone down, and refuses to allow 10 careless words to control the next 10 hours. You see it in someone who can enter a tense room, feel the pressure, understand what is happening, and still remain the owner of their behavior. That kind of control looks simple from the outside. It is not. Most people live in a constant state of reaction. A comment changes their mood. A rejection changes the way they see themselves. A delay makes them anxious. A criticism becomes a personal attack. A disagreement turns into a battle they feel compelled to win. Someone looks at them the wrong way, and suddenly their peace depends on proving something. That is not freedom. It is emotional dependence disguised as strength. The Stoics understood this problem centuries ago. They knew that you cannot control every person you meet. You cannot control every opinion, every setback, every rumor, every rejection, every inconvenience, or every unexpected turn. But you can train the part of you that responds. And once you understand that, something changes. The goal is no longer to make the world behave the way you want. The goal becomes much harder and much more valuable. You learn to govern yourself. Before we go deeper, if you want to build that kind of mind, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the King Stoic. And in the comments write, "From today on, I am a new person." Then tell me the country and the city you are watching from. Do not write it as an empty sentence. Use it as a decision. A public commitment becomes more powerful when you attach meaning to it. You are reminding yourself that from this point forward, you are no longer going to give every person, every problem, and every emotion automatic access to your mind. And seeing where people are watching from also reminds us of something important. No matter where you live, human nature remains remarkably similar. Anger feels like anger. Rejection hurts. Pride wants to defend itself. Ego wants to win. Discipline is difficult everywhere. The principles we're about to examine apply in every country because they deal with something universal: the human mind. Today, I want to show you 5 Stoic rules that can completely change the way you deal with pressure, criticism, disrespect, uncertainty, and difficult people. They are not designed to make you emotionless. They are designed to make you deliberate. You will still feel anger. You will still notice disrespect. You will still experience disappointment. But instead of becoming a servant of the first emotion that appears, you learn to choose what happens next. That distinction is everything. Because the moment you stop reacting automatically, another person loses one of the easiest ways to control you. And you regain something far more important than winning an argument. You regain command of your own mind. Number 1, create space between the trigger and your response. One of the most expensive habits you can have is answering too quickly. A message arrives, you feel offended. You respond, someone makes a comment, you interpret it as disrespect. You fire back. A coworker criticizes you. Your body becomes tense. Your thoughts accelerate, and before you fully understand what happened, you are already defending yourself. Later, when the emotion settles, you sometimes regret the words. You realize that the situation was smaller than your reaction. You may even notice that you gave another person exactly what they wanted. They provoked you. You performed the reaction. That is how emotional control is lost, not in one dramatic moment, but in tiny moments where impulse becomes behavior before reason has a chance to speak. Stoic discipline begins by interrupting that chain. You cannot always prevent the first emotion. You can prevent the emotion from becoming an immediate command. Marcus Aurelius repeatedly trained himself to examine his judgments before allowing them to determine his conduct. What disturbed him was not merely an external event. It was also the interpretation placed upon that event. That distinction matters. Suppose someone tells you you are not good enough. Those are words. Your mind adds the rest. They are disrespecting me. I need to prove them wrong. Everyone must think I am weak. If I stay quiet, I lose. Now the event is no longer one sentence. Your mind has turned it into a threat to your identity. The body reacts accordingly. Your heart rate rises. Your breathing becomes shorter. Your attention narrows. You stop trying to understand the situation and start trying to defend yourself. That is precisely when you need distance, not physical distance in every case. Mental distance. The simplest practical method is also one of the most difficult. Pause. Do not answer the first thought. You can take one breath. You can take 10 seconds. You can tell someone, I want to think about that before I respond. You can leave a message unanswered for 20 minutes. You can walk around the block before continuing an argument. The exact technique matters less than the principle. You're teaching your nervous system that emotion is information, not authority. Anger can tell you that a boundary may have been crossed. It does not automatically tell you the best way to defend that boundary. Fear can tell you that something feels uncertain. It does not automatically mean you should retreat. Embarrassment can tell you that your social image feels threatened. It does not mean you need to start explaining yourself to everyone in the room. When you create a pause, you reclaim the decision. Consider how often unnecessary conflicts happen because two people respond at the speed of emotion. One person speaks sharply. The other person becomes defensive. The first person senses hostility and becomes more aggressive. Now both people are reacting to reactions. 10 minutes later, they are arguing about something that was not even the original problem. A disciplined person breaks that pattern. You do not have to match another person's intensity. If someone raises their voice, you are still allowed to keep yours steady. If someone becomes impatient, you do not have to borrow their impatience. When a person tries to pull you into chaos, calm becomes a boundary. This is not weakness. Weakness is needing the environment to be peaceful before you can be peaceful. Strength is remaining capable of thought when the environment becomes emotionally unstable. There will also be moments when a response is necessary. Stoicism is not passive submission. If someone repeatedly disrespects you, address it. If a relationship violates your values, establish distance. When a problem requires action, act. But act from judgment rather than emotional reflex. There is a profound difference between saying, do not speak to me that way, with a calm voice and screaming because your ego has taken control. The boundary may be identical. The inner state is not. One comes from choice. The other comes from compulsion. Start practicing this rule in small situations. You do not need to wait for a major confrontation. When traffic frustrates you, observe the impulse before reacting. When someone interrupts you, notice your irritation. If a social media comment annoys you, resist the urge to answer immediately. When you receive disappointing news, give yourself time before making a major decision. Every pause is a repetition. Every repetition strengthens the ability. A calm mind is trained exactly like a strong body. You do not develop it by understanding one idea. You develop it through repeated resistance. You resist the immediate reaction. Then you do it again. After enough repetitions, something interesting happens. The pause begins to feel natural. You stop believing every emotion deserves instant expression. Your reactions become slower, but your judgment becomes faster. You see what is happening more clearly, and you begin to understand a principle that very few people master. The person who controls the tempo of the interaction often controls themselves best within it. Someone else may be rushing. You do not have to rush. They may demand an immediate answer. You can think. They may expect anger. You can refuse to provide it. They may want you to prove yourself. You can decide that nothing needs to be proven. That is freedom in practice. Not controlling another person, controlling whether they can control your next move. Number 2, stop explaining yourself to everyone. There is another reaction that appears calm, but is often driven by insecurity. Over-explaining. You make a decision. Someone questions it. Immediately, you begin presenting evidence. You explain your reasons. Then you explain the reasons behind those reasons. You add context. You clarify. You justify. You keep talking until you hope the other person will finally approve. This habit can become so automatic that you do not notice what is happening. You believe you are simply communicating. Sometimes you are, but sometimes you are asking for permission to live according to your own judgment. That's different. A mature person should be able to explain important decisions when accountability requires it. If you make a professional mistake, explain what happened. If your actions affect someone you care about, communication matters. When a misunderstanding threatens a meaningful relationship, clarification may be useful. Stoicism does not tell you to become cold, secretive, or arrogant. The lesson is narrower. You do not need to defend your identity to every person who questions it. Not every opinion deserves a trial. You're going to encounter people who misunderstand you. Some will misread your intentions. Others will disagree with your priorities. A few may create an interpretation of you that bears little resemblance to reality. Your first instinct may be to repair their perception. That instinct becomes dangerous when your peace depends on succeeding. You cannot control what every person believes about you. Even if you provide perfect explanations, another person can still choose the interpretation they prefer. That is why constant self-defense becomes exhausting. You are fighting a battle inside someone else's mind, and that territory does not belong to you. The Stoic approach places the emphasis somewhere more stable. Character. If you want to be respected, become respectable. If you want to be trustworthy, behave consistently. If you want people to believe you are disciplined, build a disciplined life. Do not spend enormous amounts of energy describing qualities that your conduct can eventually demonstrate. Words can announce values, behavior verifies them. Imagine that you decide to improve your life. You begin training, you study more, you stop going to certain places. You spend less time around people who constantly pull you toward habits you were trying to leave behind. Someone notices the change and says, "You think you are better than us now?" The insecure response is immediate. "No, that's not what I mean. I still like everyone. I am just trying to change because of this reason and that reason, and I hope you understand." Perhaps an explanation is appropriate once, but you do not need to enter a permanent negotiation over your growth. Your life cannot become a democracy where everyone receives a vote on the direction you take. There are decisions that require responsibility. There are also decisions that require courage. You will not always receive understanding at the moment you need it. That is why self-respect matters. The more you mature, the more comfortable you become with a difficult reality. Being misunderstood is sometimes the price of living according to your values. That does not mean you intentionally become difficult. It means you stop treating universal approval as proof that you are doing the right thing. Marcus Aurelius had enormous responsibility and enormous visibility. Yet the Stoic ideal was not to shape every action around applause. The standard was virtue. Is the action reasonable? Is it just? Is it disciplined? Is it aligned with duty? That standard is more stable than public opinion because public opinion changes constantly. People can praise you today and criticize you tomorrow for the same quality. Your discipline is inspiring when they admire you. It becomes obsession when they feel uncomfortable. Your confidence is attractive when it benefits them. It becomes arrogance when you establish a boundary they do not like. Your patience is called wisdom until someone wants an emotional reaction from you. You cannot build your identity on labels that move according to other people's needs. Instead, become precise about where explanation is useful. Ask yourself 3 things before defending your choices. Does this person have a legitimate role in this decision? Is clarification likely to improve something meaningful? Am I explaining from responsibility, or am I begging for validation? That third question reveals a great deal. If you're explaining because you desperately need the other person to see you as good, intelligent, successful, or reasonable, slow down. Your explanation may no longer be communication, it may be approval seeking, and approval seeking makes you easy to control. A person only needs to withdraw approval, and suddenly you begin modifying your behavior to get it back. That is too much influence to give away. Practice a different response. You can say, "I understand that you see it differently," or "I have considered it carefully, and this is the decision I am making." Sometimes you need even less. Silence, then continue living. Let consistency accumulate. A person may misunderstand one day of your life. It becomes harder to misunderstand 5 years of character. Do not dig up the seed every morning to prove that it is growing. Continue watering it, continue working, continue becoming. The need to announce every improvement often decreases as real improvement increases. When confidence becomes internal, you stop performing it. You do not need to convince everyone that you are changing. You change. You do not need to argue that you deserve respect. You begin acting in ways that make self-respect non-negotiable. Then something quiet happens. Your explanations become shorter. Your boundaries become clearer. Your words become more deliberate, and your life begins to carry the weight that your arguments never could. Number 3, refuse to outsource your emotional state. A person can walk into your day carrying anger that existed long before they saw you. Maybe they slept badly. Maybe they are under pressure. Perhaps they argued with someone else. They arrive at work frustrated. They speak to you sharply. Now you have a choice. You can recognize their emotion, or you can adopt it. Most people adopt it. Someone is rude in the morning and they remain irritated until lunch. A stranger leaves a hostile comment online and they think about it during dinner. One person rejects them and they begin questioning their worth. Another person's internal condition becomes their internal condition. This is one of the fastest ways to lose emotional freedom. Epictetus built much of his philosophy around distinguishing what belongs to your control from what does not. Another person's mood is not yours to command. Their opinion is not yours, their reaction is not yours, their personality is not yours, their past is not yours. But the meaning you assign to their behavior and the conduct you choose afterward belong much more closely to your sphere of responsibility. This principle becomes powerful when you apply it to ordinary life. Suppose someone does not reply to your message for several hours. Immediately, your mind begins constructing stories. They are ignoring me. They do not respect me. I did something wrong. They are losing interest. You do not actually know. You possess an event. No reply. Then your imagination produces a narrative. That narrative produces anxiety. Now you're suffering from a conclusion that may not even be true. Emotional discipline requires separating facts from interpretations. Fact: the message has not been answered. Interpretation: I am being rejected. Fact: someone criticized my work. Interpretation: I am incompetent. Fact: a person disagreed with me. Interpretation: I am being disrespected. Fact: a plan failed. Interpretation: my future is ruined. When you confuse interpretation with reality, your mind becomes vulnerable to every event. Stoicism gives you a way to interrupt that process. Return to what you actually know. Then decide what response serves your values. This does not mean denying emotion. If something hurts, acknowledge that it hurts. If you feel disappointed, allow yourself to recognize disappointment. Emotional control is not pretending that nothing affects you. It is refusing to let temporary feeling become permanent direction. You may feel angry and still speak carefully. You may feel afraid and still take the necessary action. You can feel rejected without abandoning your dignity. You can be disappointed without declaring your entire life a failure. That is the difference between experiencing an emotion and surrendering to it. Think about how powerful someone becomes when this distinction is trained. You enter a difficult meeting. Another person is aggressive. Instead of matching their aggression, you remain precise. You focus on the issue. Your thinking stays available because your mind is not consumed with defending your ego. Now you have an advantage, not over the other person, over yourself. You can see more. You hear details you would otherwise miss. You notice motives. You recognize when a conversation is productive and when it is becoming pointless. Calmness expands perception. Strong emotional reactivity narrows it. This matters in relationships as well. Many arguments continue because each person believes the other person's emotional state must be corrected immediately. Someone is upset. You become upset because they are upset. They feel your defensiveness. Their frustration grows. Now both people are trying to regulate themselves through the behavior of the other. The Stoic approach asks something more demanding. Can you remain responsible for your side of the interaction, even when the other person is failing to manage theirs? That does not mean tolerating abuse. You can leave. You can end the conversation. You can establish boundaries. You can refuse disrespect. But those are decisions. They do not require you to become emotionally identical to the person confronting you. One of the most useful sentences you can remember is this: I do not have to become what I'm dealing with. When you face anger, you do not have to become angry. When you encounter dishonesty, you do not have to become dishonest. If another person behaves immaturely, you do not need to reduce yourself to the same level. Their behavior is information about them. Your response becomes information about you. That perspective changes how you interpret provocation. An insult becomes an opportunity to see whether your self-control's real. A disagreement tests whether your principles survive pressure. Rejection reveals whether your self-worth was internal or rented from someone else's approval. Delay tests patience. Failure tests adaptability. Uncertainty tests whether you can act without guarantees. These moments are not comfortable, but comfort does not build much. Pressure exposes what has been trained. There is another practical rule here. Stop giving strangers premium access to your nervous system. You would not give a stranger the keys to your home. Yet people give strangers control over their mood every day. A driver makes an irresponsible move on the road. You carry the anger for 30 minutes. Someone you have never met writes 4 negative words beneath a video. You replay them all evening. A person with no knowledge of your life criticizes a decision. You begin doubting years of effort. Look at the exchange. They spent seconds. You paid with hours of attention. That's a terrible transaction. You do not need to accept it. The next time someone disturbs you, ask a serious question. How much of my day am I willing to give this person? 5 seconds may already be enough. Return to your work, return to your family, return to your training, return to the life that actually belongs to you. You cannot stop people from throwing emotional weight in your direction, but you can stop carrying what they throw. Number 4, guard your attention like a limited resource. Imagine waking up every morning with a fixed amount of mental energy. You cannot add another day to the day. You cannot produce unlimited concentration. You cannot care deeply about everything at the same time. Your attention has limits, yet most people spend it as if it were free. They give 20 minutes to an argument that changes nothing, then another 30 minutes to comparison. An hour disappears into random content, old conversations, return to the mind. Future problems that have not happened begin demanding emotional payment. A comment from last week receives another 10 minutes. A mistake from 3 years ago receives 15. By the end of the day, the person says, I have no energy. Of course, it was distributed everywhere. Attention is one of your most valuable possessions because your life follows it. What you repeatedly focus on becomes mentally larger. If you feed resentment every day, resentment grows. If you constantly monitor what other people are doing, comparison becomes stronger. If your attention lives in problems you cannot influence, helplessness increases. But when you direct attention toward deliberate action, capability grows. This is why Stoic self-mastery is not only about controlling anger, it is also about controlling focus. You can avoid an argument physically and continue arguing mentally for the next 6 hours. You left the room, the conflict came with you. Nothing was said out loud, but inside your mind, you are creating better comebacks. You imagine what you should have said, then what they might have said, then what you would have said after that. You win an imaginary argument against someone who is not even present. Your body still produces stress. Your attention is still occupied. Silence on the outside is not enough. Eventually, you must release the conversation internally. This is where many people misunderstand letting go. They believe letting go means saying that what happened was acceptable. It does not. You can recognize that something was wrong and still decide that replaying it will not improve your life. You can remember a lesson without repeatedly reopening the wound. Letting go is not approval, it is attention management. You decide that the past has already taken enough from you. Seneca frequently wrote, about the shortness and value of time. The deeper lesson is not simply that life ends, it is that life is continuously being spent. This hour is being exchanged for something. So is the next one. The question is whether you are choosing the exchange consciously. You can spend an hour improving your body, an hour learning, an hour with your family, an hour building a business, an hour thinking clearly. Or you can spend the same hour being emotionally occupied by someone who may not be thinking about you at all. The cost is identical, the result is not. This is why unnecessary reaction is expensive. It does not only cost peace, it costs direction. Every minute used to feed something irrelevant is a minute removed from something meaningful. You need a filter. Before giving a problem your energy, ask, can I influence this? If the answer is yes, act. Do not complain for 3 hours about a problem that could be addressed in 10 minutes. Make the call. Have the conversation. Change the plan. Do the work. If the answer is no, continuing to feed the problem with attention rarely makes you stronger. Then ask, will this matter in 1 year? Some things will. Handle them carefully. Many things will not. Treat them according to their actual size. A rude comment from a stranger may feel enormous for 10 minutes. Your future does not need to be organized around it. Next, does this deserve a response, or does my ego simply want one? There is a difference. Not every challenge deserves your silence. Not every challenge deserves your voice either. Wisdom decides. You also need to become selective with information. Modern life gives your mind more input than ancient Stoics could have imagined. Notifications, messages, news, videos, comments, comparisons, opinions from people you have never met. Arguments occur in thousands of kilometers away. Your attention can be pulled in 100 directions before breakfast. If you do not decide what deserves access to you, algorithms and other people's priorities will decide for you. That is not a technological problem alone. It is a discipline problem. You do not have to respond to every notification when it arrives. You can protect an hour of focused work. You can put the phone outside the room. You can stop reading arguments that make you angry but produce no useful action. You can unfollow sources that repeatedly make your mind worse. You can build periods of silence into your day. Those choices look small. Their cumulative effect is enormous. A distracted mind becomes easier to manipulate because it rarely pauses long enough to determine what matters. A focused mind has priorities, and priorities make saying no much easier. You know what deserves your energy because you know what you are building. That is another reason purpose matters. When you have no meaningful direction, every distraction looks important. When you are building something, irrelevance becomes easier to recognize. Your goal does not have to be grand. Maybe you are rebuilding your health. Maybe you are learning a skill. You may be strengthening a relationship. You may be rebuilding your financial life. Perhaps you're simply trying to become more disciplined than you were last year. Good. Give that process your attention. Stop donating your best mental hours to people and problems that have no place in the future you want. You do not need to become indifferent. Become selective. There is a tremendous difference. Indifference says nothing matters. Discipline says some things matter too much for me to waste myself on everything else. Number 5, trust time more than impulse. There are moments when your mind tells you that everything must be solved immediately. Someone spreads a false story about you. You want to correct every person. A relationship becomes uncertain. You demand an answer now. Someone misunderstands your intentions. You feel compelled to make them understand today. A business decision creates anxiety. You want immediate certainty. The emotional mind hates unfinished situations. It wants closure. It wants control. It wants a quick action that reduces discomfort. But the action that reduces discomfort now is not always the action that serves you later. Sometimes time sees more clearly than impulse. You need to understand this without turning it into passivity. Waiting is not always wise. There are emergencies. There are deadlines. Some problems grow when ignored. Stoicism is not an excuse for avoidance. The principle is to stop confusing urgency with importance. A feeling can be urgent without the situation being urgent. This distinction can save you from many mistakes. You receive a provocative email. Your anger says, "Answer now." Nothing requires an immediate reply. Wait. You experience conflict in a relationship. Fear says, "Force them to give you reassurance." Pressure may make the situation worse. Give both people space to think. Someone questions your reputation. Pride says, "Defend yourself to everyone." Depending on the situation, consistent conduct over time may be far more convincing than frantic self-defense. Time reveals patterns. Impulse reacts to moments. That is why patience is not inactivity. Patience allows evidence to accumulate. Imagine someone criticizes your discipline. You can spend an hour explaining your plans, or you can spend the next year living them. Which carries more weight? Someone says you will fail. You can argue, or you can work. A person believes you have changed for the worse because you established boundaries. You can beg them to understand, or you can allow your long-term behavior to show whether your decision came from maturity or bitterness. Your character becomes clearer across time. You do not have to force every conclusion today. This applies to failure as well. A setback feels permanent when you're standing inside it. You lose an opportunity. In that moment, your mind says the door is closed. You make a mistake. It feels like identity. A relationship ends. Your emotional system interprets the pain as permanent. You do not yet know what the event means. You only know how it feels now. That is why Stoic thinking separates event from destiny. A failure is an event. It may contain information. It may require correction. It can have consequences. But the conclusion you attach to it is not automatically true. "This did not work" is different from "nothing will ever work." "I made a poor decision" is different from "I am a failure." "This person left" is different from "I will always be alone." Your future does not need to inherit every dramatic conclusion produced by your present emotion. Give time permission to change your perspective. Think about problems from your own past. Some situations that once felt enormous now seem small. Certain opinions you desperately wanted have become irrelevant. People you could not imagine living without may no longer be part of your life. Failures that embarrassed you taught lessons you still use. Events change meaning as your perspective grows. This is one reason calm people appear powerful. They understand that the first interpretation is not always the final truth. They do not make irreversible decisions inside temporary emotional states. When angry, they wait before sending the message. When afraid, they investigate before abandoning the opportunity. When rejected, they stabilize before judging their worth. During uncertainty, they continue doing the next reasonable thing. Marcus Aurelius repeatedly returned to duty. What needs to be done now? That question is better than many dramatic questions because it brings your attention back to the present. Not, how do I make everyone understand me? Not, how do I guarantee this will work? Not, how do I make this person regret what happened? Ask instead, what is the most reasonable action available to me right now? Maybe the answer is to speak. Maybe it is to wait. Sometimes it is to apologize. Sometimes you leave. You may need to work. You may need to rest and revisit the problem tomorrow. The point is not always silence. The point is proportion. Your response should match reality rather than the intensity of your emotion. This is one of the great signs of maturity. Small problems receive small responses. Serious problems receive serious responses. Temporary discomfort does not automatically receive permanent decisions. You stop turning every conflict into a crisis, and you stop treating every uncomfortable feeling as proof that immediate action is required. There is another part of trusting time. You become less interested in revenge. Revenge often comes from impatience. You want another person to understand what they did. You want justice on your schedule. You want them to experience regret. You want to witness the moment they realize your value. That desire can keep you emotionally attached to someone long after you claim to have moved on. You're still waiting for their reaction. Your life is still organized around them. Stoicism offers something cleaner. Live well, correct what belongs to you. Learn from what happened. Establish the necessary boundary. Then move forward without requiring the other person to suffer before you permit yourself to have peace. That is not weakness. It is release. Your progress becomes independent of their regret. You no longer need an apology to keep growing. You do not need them to admit you were right. You do not require their failure to prove your worth. You remove them from the center of your emotional life. And time handles what time handles. Some people eventually understand, some never do. Your responsibility remains the same. Live in a way that you can respect. The deeper battle. You're not fighting the world by now. You can see that these 5 rules are connected. Pause before responding. Stop explaining yourself to everyone. Do not outsource your emotional state. Protect your attention. Trust time more than impulse. But beneath all 5 is one larger struggle. You're not primarily trying to defeat difficult people. You're trying to master the part of yourself that difficult people can activate. That distinction changes everything. If your goal is to control other people, you will remain frustrated. There will always be someone disrespectful. There will always be criticism. Someone will misunderstand you. There will be situations that do not unfold according to plan. No amount of Stoic practice makes the world obedient. Stoicism makes you less dependent on the world being obedient. That is far more useful. Imagine 2 people facing the same insult. The first person has tied self-worth to approval. The insult feels like a threat. Reaction becomes almost automatic. The second person has spent years building internal standards. They still notice the disrespect. They may even establish a firm boundary, but their identity does not collapse. Same event, different inner structure. That is why training matters. You cannot wait until a crisis to suddenly become disciplined. Your behavior under pressure is usually built before the pressure arrives. If you want to remain calm during conflict, practice patience when the stakes are small. If you want to resist manipulation, become comfortable saying no before someone pressures you. If you want freedom from other people's opinions, stop seeking unnecessary approval during ordinary decisions. The difficult moment reveals the training, it does not create it. Think of emotional self-command as a daily practice. When you wake up, remind yourself that other people will behave according to their own character. Some will be patient, some will not. Certain people will understand you. Others will interpret everything through their own fears, experiences, and insecurities. Do not begin the day expecting universal cooperation. That expectation makes reality feel like betrayal. Prepare instead. You can tell yourself, today, something may not go as planned. I may encounter impatience. Someone may disagree with me. I could receive information I do not like. None of those events removes my ability to choose my conduct. That preparation is not pessimism. It is mental readiness. A boxer does not enter a fight surprised that punches are coming. A disciplined mind does not enter life shocked that difficulty exists. You expect friction. Then you decide in advance what kind of person you want to be when it arrives. This protects you from becoming someone else under pressure. Many people have values only when values are convenient. They are patient until they are insulted. They are respectful until someone disagrees. They believe in self-control until anger feels justified. Then the principle disappears. Stoicism asks whether your character survives the moment you most want to abandon it. That is the test. It is easy to be calm alone in a quiet room. Calmness matters more when another person is trying to provoke you. It is easy to say you do not care about opinions when everyone approves. Independence becomes real when misunderstanding arrives. It is easy to claim patience when the result comes quickly. Patience becomes character when you have to wait. Pressure turns philosophy into evidence. And here's something important. You will fail at this sometimes. You will respond too quickly. You will send the message you should have waited to send. You will explain yourself too much. A comment will stay in your mind longer than it deserves. You may lose your temper and regret it. Do not turn one failure of self-control into an excuse to abandon self-control. Review the moment. What triggered you? What story did you tell yourself? Where could the pause have happened? What will you do differently next time? That is how Stoicism becomes practical, not by pretending you have become perfectly calm, by becoming increasingly conscious. The improvement may appear small. At first, you realize you reacted badly 2 hours after the event. Later, you notice 20 minutes afterward, then 5 minutes. Eventually, you notice while it is happening. With practice, you detect the trigger before the reaction leaves your mouth. That is progress. Awareness moves closer to the moment of choice, and every time awareness arrives earlier, freedom increases when silence is power and when it is not. There is one clarification you need, because do not react can easily be misunderstood. Silence is not automatically strength. Sometimes silence is fear. Sometimes people avoid necessary conversations because they are afraid of conflict. They call it peace. It is actually avoidance. A Stoic does not refuse all confrontation. The goal is not to disappear whenever something becomes uncomfortable. The goal is to choose confrontation when reason requires it rather than when ego demands it. Suppose someone repeatedly crosses a boundary. Silence may teach them that the behavior has no consequence. You may need to speak. Do it clearly. Do not give a 20-minute emotional speech. If 2 calm sentences are enough, state what is happening, state what needs to change, then act consistently with the boundary you established. That is controlled response. Now, suppose a stranger posts an insult beneath your content. Answering may accomplish nothing. The person may be looking specifically for your attention. Silence becomes more useful. Different situation, different response. Wisdom distinguishes them. The question is not, should I always stay silent? Ask him, what response serves my values in the reality of this situation? Sometimes dignity speaks, sometimes dignity walks away, at other times dignity listens. There are situations where dignity apologizes. You do not need one behavior for every circumstance. You need one governing principle. Do not surrender your judgment to impulse. This is what makes Stoicism demanding. A simple rule would be easier. Never respond, always fight back, always forgive, always leave. Real life is more complex. Self-mastery requires discernment. You need enough calmness to identify which action fits the moment. That is why reaction is dangerous. Reaction skips the discernment. It moves straight from stimulus to behavior. Stoicism puts reason in the middle. Event, judgment, choice, action. That small middle space is where character lives, building the kind of presence that does not need to prove itself. There is a certain presence people develop when they stop reacting to everything. It's difficult to imitate. You notice it in how they carry themselves. They do not hurry to fill every silence. They listen before answering. They can disagree without turning disagreement into hostility. They do not reveal every thought simply because a thought appeared. Their confidence does not depend on dominating the room. You sense stability. That stability comes from something deeper than personality. It comes from reducing the gap between values and behavior. When you trust yourself to respond according to your principles, you become less afraid of difficult situations. You know anger may come, but you also know anger does not automatically own your mouth. You know rejection may hurt, but rejection will not make you abandon your standards. Criticism may arrive. You will examine it without allowing it to define you. Uncertainty may remain. You will still take the next responsible action. That creates self-trust. Self-trust is one of the foundations of quiet confidence. Many people try to create confidence by changing the outside. They want status, money, physical appearance, attention, recognition. Those things can have value, but external success cannot replace the knowledge that you can trust your own behavior under pressure. You can be admired by thousands and still be controlled by one negative opinion. You can look strong and be emotionally fragile. You can have money and be desperate for validation. Real inner stability requires something else. You need evidence that you can govern yourself. Each difficult moment provides that evidence. Someone provokes you, you remain deliberate. Evidence. You want to break a promise to yourself, you keep it. Evidence. You feel the need to explain your decision. You recognize that no explanation is necessary. Evidence, a setback occurs. You adjust instead of collapsing. Evidence, you want to waste 2 hours replaying resentment. You return to your work. Evidence, that evidence changes the relationship you have with yourself. Eventually you think, I have been tested before. I remained standing. I felt anger before. I did not let it decide everything. I experienced rejection before. I rebuilt. I was misunderstood before. I survived without everyone approving. Now the next difficult moment looks different, not easy, manageable. That is resilience. You stop demanding an easy life and start building a stronger response. 5 practices to use from today. I want you to make these principles concrete. Philosophy becomes useful when it changes behavior. So take the 5 rules and turn them into 5 practices. First, use a deliberate pause whenever your emotions rise. You can make a simple commitment. No important message will be sent while you're highly angry. No major decision will be made in the first minutes of panic. No insult receives automatic access to your mouth. Create a delay. Second, stop unnecessary explanations. Notice the next time you feel compelled to convince someone who has no legitimate authority over your decision. Give the shortest, respectful response that tells the truth, then stop. Third, separate your emotions from the moods of other people. When someone arrives with anger, mentally remind yourself, that emotion belongs to them. My response belongs to me. Do not carry both. Fourth, conduct an attention audit. At the end of the day, look at where your mind went. How much time was spent on work that matters? How much disappeared into resentment, comparison, unnecessary content, anxiety, and imagined arguments? You cannot redirect what you refuse to measure. Fifth, delay action when the situation is emotionally urgent, but practically non-urgent. Sleep before sending the message. Review the email tomorrow. Give the conversation an hour. Let your nervous system settle so your judgment can return. These 5 practices sound small. That is why people underestimate them. But a life is mostly built from repeated small responses. You rarely destroy your peace in one decision. You lose it through hundreds of tiny permissions. You allow one person's opinion to stay in your mind. You answer one message from anger. You explain yourself one more time. You spend one more hour comparing your life. You make another impulsive decision because uncertainty feels uncomfortable. Then those habits become personality. The reverse is also true. You pause once, then again. You protect 1 hour of focus. You leave one unnecessary argument unanswered. You establish one calm boundary. You release one old resentment instead of replaying it. Those choices accumulate. 2. Eventually, the person you are trying to become begins to appear in your ordinary behavior. That is transformation, not dramatic, consistent. The moment your peace stops being for sale. Imagine yourself several years from now. You enter situations that would once have disturbed you. The same kinds of people still exist. The world has not become quieter. Criticism has not disappeared. Some plans still fail. Other people still carry their insecurities into conversations. The difference is you. A person tries to provoke you. You notice it. No immediate reaction. Someone misunderstands your decision. You clarify if necessary, then continue. A stranger criticizes you. You examine whether the criticism contains anything useful. If it does, you learn. If it does not, you release it. A problem appears. Instead of asking why life is doing this to you, you determine the next reasonable action. You are no longer waiting for perfect conditions before allowing yourself to be stable. That is a different life. Not because circumstances suddenly obey you, because circumstances no longer own you. This is what people misunderstand about power. They imagine power is control over the environment, control over people, control over outcomes, recognition, influence, dominance. Yet the Stoic definition reaches deeper. What good is controlling a room? If one insult can control you, what good is having influence if you cannot influence your own habits? What good is winning arguments if you lose entire evenings to anger? What good is being respected publicly if you cannot respect the way you behave privately? The first kingdom you govern is yourself. Without that, external power becomes unstable. With it, even ordinary life acquires dignity. You begin to understand that peace is not something the world gives you when everyone behaves correctly. Peace becomes something you protect through judgment. That protection requires strength because temptation is constant. The ego wants to react. Pride wants to explain. Fear wants immediate certainty. Anger wants expression. Comparison wants your attention. Resentment wants another hour. Discipline says no. Not everything that enters my mind deserves to stay. Not everything I feel deserves to become action. Not every opinion deserves a response. Not every misunderstanding deserves correction. Not every conflict deserves my energy. Not every uncomfortable moment is an emergency. That is the mindset of someone becoming difficult to manipulate, not because you know every trick, because you know yourself. Someone cannot easily control you through approval if you no longer depend on constant approval. They cannot control you through anger if you refuse to automatically match anger. They cannot control you through urgency if you know how to wait. They cannot control you through misunderstanding if you no longer need everyone to validate your decisions. The more disciplined your inner life becomes, the fewer handles the outside world has to pull. Closing reflection. Your life will continue to test these principles, possibly sooner than you expect. A conversation will become tense. Someone may say something you consider unfair. You may receive disappointing news. A person you care about may misunderstand you. Something you worked for may not succeed. When that moment comes, the old version of you may appear quickly. React. Defend yourself. Prove something. Send the message. Win the argument. Make the decision now. That voice will sound urgent. You do not have to obey it. Pause. Feel your feet on the ground. Take one controlled breath. Look at the event before adding a story. Then remember the 5 rules. Create space before responding. Do not explain yourself beyond what responsibility requires. Keep ownership of your emotional state. Protect your limited attention. Allow time to do what impulse cannot. Then ask yourself one question. What would the strongest version of me do next? Not the loudest version, not the angriest, not the most frightened, the strongest. Sometimes strength answers calmly. Sometimes it waits. Sometimes it walks away. Sometimes it says no. At times it admits a mistake. Sometimes strength continues working while other people are talking. What matters is that the action comes from choice. Every day you are becoming someone through repeated responses. You're either training yourself to react faster or training yourself to think more clearly. You're either giving your peace away or learning how to guard it. You're either spending your attention on everything that calls for it or directing it toward what actually matters. That process never becomes completely finished. Self-mastery is practice, but each time you choose discipline over impulse, the next choice becomes a little easier. Each time you refuse unnecessary conflict, your mind learns that peace does not require victory over another person. Every time you survive being misunderstood without abandoning yourself, your dependence on approval weakens. When you face discomfort without making a reckless decision, your patience becomes stronger. That is how an unshakable person is built, quietly, repeatedly, one response at a time. So starting today, stop measuring your strength by how quickly you fight back. Measure it by how difficult you are to provoke. Stop measuring confidence by how much attention you receive. Measure it by how little approval you need to remain aligned with your values. Do not measure power by whether other people fear you. Measure it by whether anger, fear, ego, and resentment can command you. That is a higher standard. And very few people reach it because most people spend their lives trying to control the outside while neglecting the inside. You do not need to join them. You can train differently. The next insult can become practice. The next delay can become practice. The next disagreement can become practice. The next failure can become practice. Your life already contains the training ground. You simply need to recognize it, and one day, after enough practice, you will notice something. The situations that once ruined your entire day now disturb you. For only a few minutes, the criticism that once lived in your head for a week disappears by evening. The person who once manipulated you through guilt can no longer move you so easily. The argument you would once have fought for hours no longer interests you. You have not become cold. You have become selective. You have not stopped feeling. You have stopped surrendering. And that is one of the clearest signs of real inner power. If this message gave you something useful, like the video and subscribe to the King Stoic. This channel is not about pretending life is easy. It is about becoming strong enough to meet life with discipline, reason, and dignity. And before you leave, return to the commitment from the beginning. Write in the comments, from today on, I am a new person. Then tell me your country and city. Let that sentence represent something specific. From today, you do not have to answer every provocation. You do not have to convince everyone. Another person's mood does not need to become yours. Your attention does not belong to every distraction, and temporary emotion does not deserve permanent authority over your decisions. Carry one of these rules into the next difficult moment. Do not try to master all 5 in theory. Tonight, master 1 in practice when life gives you the opportunity. Because the greatest victory is not making another person lose control. It is reaching the point where they can no longer make you lose yours. Protect your mind, guard your attention, choose your response, and let your character speak before your reactions ever need to.